Hello dear students, welcome you all. So in today's session, we will see what is internalization testing. So for now, the market for software is becoming truly global, right? So online market or online softwares have become globally spread across. So the advent of internet has removed some of these technology barriers on the widespread usage of software products and has also simplified the distribution of the software products across the globe. So the ability of a software product to be available and usable in the local language of the different countries will significantly influence its rate of adoption. So its adoption will be increasing if the application is developed in the local language. So there is a paradoxical yet reasonable requirement for the software to support different languages such as your Chinese, Japanese and Spanish and follow their conventions. So in this chapter we will be dealing with what needs to be done from both development and testing perspective in order to make a software product usable in different languages and in the different countries. So building a software for the international market supporting the multiple languages in a cost effective and timely manner is a matter of using internalization standards throughout the software development life cycle. So it can be from the requirements capture through design, development, testing and also maintenance. So the guidelines given in this coming chapter will help you reduce the time and effort which is required to make the software product support multiple languages by building it right the first time with the sufficient flexibility to support the multiple languages. So if some of the guidelines are not followed in the software life cycle for the internalization, so the effort and the additional cost to support every new language will increase significantly. Okay. So the testing of internalization is done to ensure that the software does not assume any specific language or any conventions which is associated with the specific language. So testing for internalization has to be done in various phases of the software life cycle. So this we will learn in detail now. So so basically let us see what is a language now. So the term language is actually a tool which is used for communication, right? So however we communicate with one another, we use a language, right? So that will convey the message. So ANSI, which is American Standard Code for Information Interchange, is using 8-bit for representing the characters. So in the computer, in the application, how you can develop the language support is using the ASCII standards, right? So the basic ASCII uses the 7-bit, which is 128 characters, and the extended ASCII uses 8 bits, which is 256 characters. And we also have European characters and punctuation symbols are easily extended in the extended ASCII characters, which also includes your special characters like N, A, E, I, O, U, like written in the slide. So coming to the next slide. So now let us see what is local actually. So each of the language is spoken differently in the different countries and states, right? So let us consider our Karnataka itself. So in Karnataka only, so many different sub-languages are there, and even the Kannada itself is spoken in different slang and also different punctuation. Okay. So there could be many countries speaking the same language, but using the same characters and punctuation, but it varies again according to their specific local language. But some of the conventions may be different, like currency and date format. So for example, English is widely used in US and also in India. But the currency in the America you call it as dollar, and in India you call it as rupees, right? And the format which is displayed also is different. So US is shown as dollar. So in the example, $1 million is shown like this, and also 1 lakh is shown in the rupees in India. So there could be multiple currencies in a country itself. Like in Europe, there are two currencies, which is euro and franc in France. So there could be multiple local for the language in the same country. Let us see what is internalization. So this is also called as I18n, and it represents the all activities to make products available to the international market. So it includes both developing and testing activities, which means developer will also take care of the application while developing. So which has to be developed in which all other regional languages or local languages. And the testing also has to be carried out considering the language developed. And localization is also called as L10N, and the translation of all the product messages and documentation will be in the local language itself. And this is done by language experts, those who know the language properly and those who know the proper editors for the particular language. And this also includes both developer and the testing. So it has to be tested and also developed. Moving on to the next slide. Let us see what is globalization. So this is actually not very popular and is also called as an G12N. So internationalization includes the localization, but some of the companies want to separate as the team that does both are different, okay, and hence this is the term. So globalization, why we call, so it is globally used, and it also includes the some of the localization, but again it depends on the companies those who want to use it and how they want to use. So let us see, the testing of internalization is done in multiple phases in the project life cycle, like you can see in the diagram. So this further elaborates the SDLC and V model, which you already know, and how the different phases of this model are related to various I18n testing activities. So the colored figure is available in this PPT, and please note that the enabled testing is done by the developer as a part of unit testing. So here enabled testing is done as the part of your unit testing. And some of the aspects of internalization testing are testing the code for how it handles the input, strings and sorting items, and display of message for various languages like we know Chinese, and then French, and then British, and then processing of messages for various languages and conventions. And these are the aspects for main points which we will discuss now. So as you can see in the diagram, so enable the code and do the enabling testing and also local testing, and I18n testing and the validation. So fake language testing you will learn in next upcoming sessions, and also language testing, and you will release the English version. And the consolidated message is gone, and you have to translate that message and include that message into the product and do the localization testing and release it, which is in the international version. So you have to first develop the application in the basic language, and then develop into the local translator. So using Google Translator, you can translate your language into the local language and put that into the product. So basically, how your Google Translator works, so it has the local language, and it will give you the result in the specified language. For example, if you want to translate any word in English to Kannada, so you can pass it on to the Google Translator, so it will translate and give you the specified word. So the testing phases, here you can see localization testing is done, and parallelly you are also accepting the requirements and continuing with the acceptance testing, and language testing using the fake language testing, and you also perform the I18n validation and local testing, and enable testing, it is also a part of unit testing. And you also do the component testing, integration testing, and also system testing, and finally the acceptance testing is done. So now let us see what is enabling testing. So now that you know what is localization and globalization, so let us see what is enabling testing in detail. So enabling testing is a white box testing, okay. So white box testing methodology, which is done to ensure that the source code used in the software allows internalization, and a source code which has hard coded currency formats or date formats and is fixed length, your GUI screens or dialog boxes or read and print messages directly on the media is actually not considered enabled code. So, an activity of code review or code inception mixed with some test cases for the unit testing with an objective to catch I18n defects, which is called as enabling testing. So, the majority of the defects found during the year 2000 were I18n defects. So, which were in the hard-coded format. So it is very must to do the enabling testing. So further continuing with this thing, let us see the checklist of enabling testing. So you have to first find out those APIs or function calls that can't be used for I18n, like your printf and scanf statements. And the Unicode and GNU gives some of the APIs instead of it. And check the code for hard-coded dates and currency formats and ASCII usage. And also check the code for arithmetic operations on date, and also check that no format is forced to date field. And also have a checklist for each field in the screen for extra space. Normally 50% of extra space is allowed. And ensure that the region based message or slang are not used. For example, hi, which refers to the color. And also ensure no string operation are performed on the code, like only the APIs which provide the I18n are to be used. And the code does not assume any predefined path or file name or directories, so you need to specify it. And check the code that does make the assumptions about the bit representation, like your 8-bit, 16-bit and 32-bit. And the bit operators are not actually used. And also ensure adequate length is allowed to accommodate the translated message. And also have a checklist for the pictures, logos and bitmaps that do not have the embedded text. So this is all about enabling testing. So in the next class we will come up with the next topic. Thank you, students.